If you're a serious history buff or a practical-minded survivalist, stick with me for the next minute, because this story is one of those rare intersections where forgotten military ingenuity meets real-world usefulness you can apply today. And before we go further, make sure you're subscribed to the Prepper Historian so you don't miss the deep-cut fieldcraft, lost techniques and over-the-shoulder lessons we dig up from the past. Now, here's the hook. During the Second World War, when men were freezing to death in forests from the Ardennes to the Carpathians, a tiny, almost embarrassingly simple boot hack quietly saved thousands of toes. It wasn't high-tech, it wasn't classified, it wasn't even official doctrine at first, but it worked so well that units began passing it around like contraband. And the wild part? Most modern hikers, soldiers and preppers have never even heard of it, despite it costing almost nothing and requiring no special gear. By the end of this guide, you'll not only know what it was, you'll know exactly how to use it in real life whenever the cold turns hostile. The story begins with the problem every army underestimated: wet feet in freezing weather. World War II didn't just expose soldiers to bullets and shells, it exposed them to moisture. Snow, slush, sweat, melted ice, thin leather boots, minimal spare socks, and miles of marching created the perfect storm for frostbite. Medical reports from the Battle of the Bulge show that frostbite casualties temporarily outnumbered combat wounds in several regiments. The pattern was always the same. Once feet got damp, the cold did the rest. Leather boots froze stiff, socks trapped moisture, and circulation dropped. The challenge was simple: find a way to keep feet dry when dry socks were a luxury. The solution that soldiers passed around was the double-layer barrier trick using improvised vapor liners. This is the secret hack that kept men's toes attached. Soldiers would take any available waterproof material, waxed paper from ration boxes, cellophane from cigarette packs, bread bags, plasticized wrappers, and insert it between two layers of socks. One thin wool sock went on first, then the improvised liner, then a thicker outer sock. This created a vapor barrier that stopped sweat from soaking the outer sock and freezing. The idea wasn't to keep moisture off the foot entirely, it was to trap moisture close to the skin so it didn't migrate outward and turn your insulation into a block of ice. When used correctly, the foot stayed warm far longer, even if it felt slightly clammy. The outer sock remained dry, and dry fabric still insulates. Why the hack worked comes down to understanding how moisture steals heat. Water conducts heat away from the body about 25 times faster than air. Once a sock becomes damp, it becomes an efficient heat siphon. Soldiers notice this firsthand during long marches. Socks might feel warm while moving, but the moment they stopped, that moisture cooled instantly and shut down circulation. By putting a sealed or semi-sealed layer over the inner sock, moisture was trapped in the smallest possible zone, preventing it from invading the insulation layer. This kept the boot's internal temperature stable and dramatically reduced frostbite. Entire divisions adopted the method unofficially, and medics reported fewer cases among troops who used it consistently. Modern winter survivalists still use this same trick today under a different name: vapor barrier liners. Here's the part that history lovers and practical preppers should appreciate. The method didn't die. It evolved. Modern vapor barrier socks used in polar expeditions, mountaineering and Arctic military units are direct descendants of those World War II field improvisations. But you don't need expensive gear to apply the principle. A simple plastic bag, preferably not too thick, can serve the same function. Put on a thin liner sock, slip the bag over it, then add your thick insulating sock. Hikers use this on multi-day treks when they can't dry socks fast enough. Hunters use it in snow-packed forests. Even modern infantry in cold regions keep vapor barrier liners in their kit. The method remains solid because it works with physics, not nostalgia. This trick becomes extremely valuable when you have limited resources or unexpected cold exposure. Imagine you're stuck outdoors during a sudden winter drop, or your boots get soaked from crossing a stream. If you only have one pair of warm socks, the vapor barrier method allows you to keep them dry even while your inner layer absorbs sweat. In a survival scenario, that single detail can determine whether you can still walk the next day. Practical use isn't complicated. First, wring out your feet and liner socks as much as possible. Second, use the thinnest vapor barrier you can find. A plastic shopping bag, food wrap, even a cut section from a trash bag in a pinch. Third, protect that barrier with your thicker sock so it doesn't tear during movement. Done correctly, your insulation stays dry, your boot stays warm, and you buy yourself hours of safe mobility. World War II soldiers also learned how to maintain circulation even with the barrier method. One issue troops reported was sweating during marches. The fix was simple: regulate heat before you sweat. Soldiers would loosen their gaiters, open their jacket briefly, or slow their pace to avoid creating moisture inside the boot in the first place. When stopping for rest, many removed the outer sock and let it air briefly while keeping the vapor barrier in place. They discovered that even a few minutes of air exposure could reset moisture levels enough to prevent frostbite during long halts. These small habits became part of routine fieldcraft and are still useful today when you're out in deep winter conditions. What makes this World War II trick evergreen is that it solves a problem modern gear still struggles with. High-tech winter boots help, but they can't stop sweat. They can't guarantee dryness. And when conditions turn wet, icy or unpredictable, this low-tech method remains shockingly effective. If you're trekking in the mountains, doing winter camping, or preparing for grid-down scenarios, this knowledge gives you an advantage soldiers in 1944 would have envied. The ability to use science intentionally, not just by rumour through the ranks. If this kind of practical, history-backed fieldcraft speaks to you, subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share this guide with someone who loves learning the forgotten methods that once kept men alive. The past still has lessons worth carrying in your pack.